Oh man, if it's not one thing, it's another here in the old professional sport of bass fishing, here in the bass fishing industry as a whole. I guess that's kind of what we're here to talk about today. So, welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to another video. Captain Cody Davis here with you guys again for another one. And before we get started, just wanted to say thank you to all of you guys that have supported the channel. Click that subscribe button, been following me since the beginning, or just new here. Either way, thank you guys so much, and really appreciate it. So, man, the bass fishing industry right now is it's in a scary place, really. Um, and a lot of you may take that in a lot of different ways, but the reason I say that is because there's just nothing positive, it seems like, coming through the industry, and there's just a lot of drama, a lot of chit chat, a lot of like accusations, I guess you should say. A lot of people being accused of a lot of stuff, just a lot of ideas and rumors floating around, and there's just a lot of tension in the industry as a whole. And when I say the industry, I just mean, let's just call it the bass fishing world, um, which means if you bass fish in any way, shape, or form, you know, I was going to say you're involved, but that's not the right word. It's like you know what's going on, and it's scary. It really is. And listen, I'm not one of these YouTubers that just looks for the latest headline in the industry and makes a video on it. There's plenty of people that do that. Like Randy Blockett is, making millions or whatever he's doing that. And there's a lot of other people too. Um, and that is not who I am. First of all, I'm not a big YouTuber. Okay. I'm a fishing guide who uses this platform to advertise my business. Okay. But I am a huge fan of bass fishing. I do follow the sport. Obviously, I watch all the lives, and that's what I do. That's what I love. But I don't. At the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, whatever changes are made at Bass or whatever weird things are happening over at MLF, I don't feel like I have the proper. I don't have the authority to really make comment on it because at the end of the day, it doesn't affect my livelihood. Um, it's not really none of my business, but I talk about it with buddies and things because it's the sport I love, right? It's a sport I'm passionate about. It's a sport I follow, but I don't need to make comment on all that stuff because it's just, again, like I said, it doesn't really affect me. And there's plenty of other people that do that. I just want to get on here and more or less make fishing content, like out on Lake Okeechobee, actually fishing, more or less sitting here at this desk talking about fishing. But I do enjoy talking about it. I don't, I've got two kids and a wife at home, and I don't get to like really go out and talk with buddies about all the craziness in the sport just because we got so much going on. So this is my kind of vent session, and I do talk about it with my wife. Um, my wife's a fisherman as well. She traveled and fished the Toyotas and all that. So she she is interested in what's going on in the sport. But at the end of the day, now she's like, me and her talk about the craziness in the sport. But like I said, at the end of the day, she's just like, I don't really give a damn what's going on because it doesn't involve me. And that's kind of how I've taken it, especially with the channel here. Like, it doesn't involve me, so I'm not going to speak on it. And it's funny, I feel like 80% of the people that create the content talking about the craziness going on in the sport, it doesn't really affect them either. It just affects their wallet because they're making money talking about it. Whereas the people that it's actually affecting, the 180 anglers on the planet, I mean, they're the ones who really have a say. And then it's funny when you see one of those anglers speak out on their social media page or something. It's funny to see like the backlash they get. Like, there's people that are, like reaming these guys out, no matter which side they're on. And this person who's reaming them out fishes like a Wednesday nighter once every 7 months, and you know what I mean. Like, it's just, again, it's not affecting that said person. But um, either way, like, I get on here and talk, and I have some of my subscribers that like hearing what I have to say for some reason. But still, I try to keep the drama stuff down to a minimum. Just, I don't know, because I feel like there's just enough of that. But something really weird happened over the weekend, and this one, it's starting to make me kind of scratch my head on some stuff, right? And a lot of you probably already know where I'm going with this and what I'm going to talk about. But the no information rule has been, man, it is tough. It is a hard. Not only has it been a rule that's had a lot of talking and a lot of chit chat around it, but a big part of it is because it's a rule that's very hard to enforce for a lot of different reasons. And you know, for the longest time, man, like I don't even know where to get started with this. Let's just start with what happened. So apparently, okay, allegedly, there was a meeting where the anglers kind of casted their votes on the no information policy, meaning like if you're an elite, and we're going to be talking about the elite series, okay? No offense to Major League Fishing. There's some great anglers over there. Ever since the split, I don't really follow that organization. I wasn't a fan of how Boyd Duckett went and did what he did, and he could say all he wants about whatever, right? Like, oh, it was for the better. No, that was all bullshit. Okay, I don't like Boyd Duckett. I don't like his rods. I don't like anything to do with the guy. So there are some great anglers over there. I'm a fan of a lot of the anglers over there as well, but I just don't follow the organization. I'm just not a fan of it. So I am always been a Bassmaster guy. So we're going to be talking about what's going on at BASS in this video. Specifically just one thing that happened this weekend. So the no information rule, they came out with the schedule, okay, for the 2025 Bassmaster Elite Series this year, which they are coming to Lake Okeechobee, which I think is going to be very interesting. So stay tuned on my channel for me, like kind of covering what's going on there once we get into February, the end of February. I think they're coming at a good time. Should be a good event. But they came out with the schedule, and then following that, they came out with the 2025 kind of, I guess, set of rules. Well, one of the rules was discussing the no information policy, which common sense would tell you, okay, once the rules are posted, or not the rules, the schedule is posted, immediately following that would be the rules. And when you come out with the no information policy, it should be effective immediately. All right. So we're just going to talk about Lake Okeechobee. All right. So you look at the schedule, the end of February, we are going to Lake Okeechobee, and in the rules. So September, I think, let's just say they came out September 7th, I think is when it was. I could be wrong, but we'll just go with September 7th. The rules came out, the schedule came out, and starting right then, you are no longer allowed to receive any information on any of the bodies of water you are going to be visiting, starting September 7th, the day that these rules got released, okay? That would make sense. But for some reason, in the rules, it came out January 1st, you are no longer allowed to get information. Well, that's 3 months where you are legally allowed to obtain information on a body of water you're going to be visiting. Okay. And I saw a lot of uproar on social media from a lot of the pros I follow. And this is what's getting me really puzzled. It's like, I don't follow a pro, or I don't know of any professionals that are against this rule. It seems like for the last 3 years, that has been the talk of the elites. Is like, we need to get a stricter no information policy. And here, I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. A big part of me thought, man, a lot of these guys are sore losers. All right. Which, listen, let's face it, bass fishermen are. Okay. You guys hear me complain about bass fishermen all the time in almost every video. Like, who is actually getting information? But then, who's actually actively trying to get information, okay, or play in that gray area with that? People are probably doing it the right way, but if enough people are complaining about it, then maybe, and then I started thinking, I guess there actually is professional anglers out there skirting the gray area, skirting the boundary lines of getting and obtaining information on bodies of water. Now, I know what really started it was once you qualify for the Elite Series, you cannot obtain information. Well, the up and comers, the rookies in the sport that were qualifying through the Bass Opens, are technically not qualified for the Elite Series until they get handed their trophy and they get, I don't know, a paperwork. I don't know what it is that you have qualified for the Elite Series. Up until that point, you are not allowed to obtain. You are allowed to obtain information. So as of right now, okay, the elites, the 2025 season schedule has come out for the elites. There is still another Bass Open to go. So there are, let's just call it 12 anglers on the Opens that have a pretty good idea that they may or may not, or they're probably going to make the Elite Series. They take the top 9 in points. Okay. So even like, let's just say there's 6 of them that are guaranteed, 5 of them that are guaranteed to make it, right? Unless they completely bomb the last Open. They could be obtaining information for next year's schedule, all right? Like on Okeechobee. Basically, the leader in the Bass Opens points, the EQs, could see Okeechobee and could message me right now and say, man, I'm going to be in your neck of the woods at the end of February. What do I need to know? What do I need to throw? Any key areas I should key in on, blah, 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 blah. And it would be completely legal. Whereas some other pros that are currently on the Elite Series cannot do that, right? So that was a big factor in it. But then there were also people saying, man, like there's people that are still obtaining information that are currently on the Elite Series, even though it's against the rules, because it is a very hard rule to enforce, which I'll get into. So I was not at the meeting, right? Believe it or not, I'm not on the Elite Series. I'm not. I don't know. Like, it's crazy. I'm not on it. I'm not a professional. But I was not at the meeting. But from the looks of it, I mean, there was a mass majority vote that people wanted this no information rule to be somehow, and I didn't really get into the rule and read the specifics, that it was effective immediately to the open anglers as well, and people that are currently on the Elite Series. And when the rule came out, it wasn't effective immediately. It was effective the 1st of 2025, which was bananas, which was crazy. Okay. People were upset about it. A lot of pros voicing their opinion. I had a message conversation with a pro or 2 or even 3, just trying to get like a better idea, like making sure I was reading this right. And I was in shock myself. Like, why? What is going on? Like, that seems so weird. And then 2 days ago or yesterday, Bass came out and said, all right, we had enough like uproar essentially from our anglers. So no, now the no information rule is effective immediately as of now. Which, here's the deal, right? People were still pissed. People were like, what, that's great that you did it, but there were 48 hours there where people could legally obtain information, which a big part of me said, guys, like you got what you wanted. They switched it back. You can't bitch now. But but at the same time, it opens up a couple questions. One, there were some people that saw that rule and immediately started making phone calls, immediately started texting, guides or locals that they know, obtaining anything that they can. Maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. We don't know. But if there was, it's legal now, okay? But the bigger picture is in that, which I'm going to say I never got a direct message. I never got an email asking. I never got a phone call asking for information on Okeechobee. I never did. Nor do I know anyone who did. But not only is that, like, they said in the post, like, due to basically like the large majority of our field being against this rule, we're going to switch it back. Well, they were all against the rule to begin with. So why didn't they just do that originally? And that started making me like start scratching my head. Something doesn't seem right here. And it was funny when I mentioned it to my wife. We were sitting on the couch watching the kids play with toys and stuff. I said, Bass just switched the rule back. to the no info rule. Now it's effective immediately. Her first, and before I even said anything, she said, something's weird's going on. Okay. Um, and I don't want to sound like a conspiracy guy because I'm not one, which I know everyone says a conspiracy theorist's favorite line is, I'm not a conspiracy guy, but I'm not. But it's almost like, are they favoring people or someone? It almost seems like someone, an angler, two, three, four, a group of anglers, almost like, hey, we're gonna make this rule effective January 1st. We know we're gonna get blowback, so we're gonna wait 48 hours, and then we're gonna make it effective immediately. So for 48 hours, you guys are gonna be able to get whatever you want. And that's it sounds nuts, but as crazy as it sounds, I could see something like that happening over on the Major League Fishing side because, in my opinion, there's definitely favoritism over there. I don't want to believe that there's favoritism on the Elite Series because that's the league I like, right? But man, I don't know. Like, I'm not one of the pros. I'm not in the in. But like, is that what's happening? If let's just say there's 100 anglers, and if 95% of them voted, 95 of them voted for it to be effective immediately, well, why did they go ahead and make it for the first and then go ahead and say, all right, due to the blowback from the majority of the anglers? Well, you already had the majority vote in the first place. So why would you do that? And it's, man, I don't know. And here's the deal, right? I feel like I have a pretty good hand on all the Elite Series anglers, but at the end of the day, there's 110 of them. And I started listing like pros that I like and that I follow, and there's like 30 of them. So there's a lot of professionals on the Elite Series tour that I don't know. I don't know them as people. I don't know how it works. And then you look at it as, yeah, but if you don't know them, that means they're probably not winning. They're probably not this. And that's all might be true. But at the same time, when you're talking about Angler of the Year points and making it into the Classic, they don't have to be winning. They just have to place in front of someone who maybe is doing it the right way 3 or 4 times, and that keeps that veteran or that person who's doing it the right way out of the Classic, out of Angler of the Year standings. You know what I mean? And listen, I'm the first one to say that bass fishermen bitch about everything, but at the same time, these 100 anglers are getting their livelihood and their careers like tampered with. Now, I'm not going to go into the forward-facing sonar debate because, like I said, I've done videos on that and people are sick of hearing of it. And people, a lot of veterans in the sport can talk about how it's ruining the sport and how it's ruining their career. But at the end of the day, they could learn the technology. They could just go learn it, obsess over it like a lot of these younger anglers did, and they could kind of maintain. Okay, that's kind of how I feel. I'm not a fan of forward-facing sonar, but that's the truth of it. Whereas with this, like Lake Okeechobee is a forever changing place, right? So let's just say this rule came out and someone did call me. Hey man, it's legal. I don't know how long it's going to be legal, but while it's legal, I want to get it up. I want to get as much info as I can. We're coming to your neck of the woods. Follow you on YouTube. End of February. On a new moon. I don't even know if it's a new moon, but what do I need to be looking for? Is there anything specific? I'll pay you $1,000. And what was funny is when the rule came out, my buddy Brett, everyone knows him as Hollywood. I don't agree with everything he posts on Facebook about about forward-facing sonar, and he likes to stir the pot, but he's a great dude. But one of the funniest things he posted, it was like immediate, effective immediately now. We are going back to no info, and his comment to Bass was, "What if the transactions are still pending?" Like, but that's a real thing. It's a real thing. Okay. These guys, so there are people out there that will pay for information 1,000%. And I guarantee you in that 48 hours, someone had paid or obtained information from someone somewhere. And, I don't know. Now they've just confumbled the whole thing. I don't know what they're going to do, but at the end of the day, it does not affect me really, but it's something crazy to look at and talk about. And it's not fair. These are the best in the world. So why would the best in the world try to get info? They shouldn't have to get information from an everyday guy. You know what I mean? Like these are the best anglers in the world. And you know, I get it. There's a lot of pros that are talking about the policing of the information rule, and it is something hard to police. A lot of the anglers act like they know how to police it, but they don't. It's very difficult. It is because these guys get. I'll never forget um, when Randall Tharp he walked in one time. We were all at Okeechobee Fishing headquarters, and I think it was the first year he switched to Major League Fishing, and they had a very strict no information rule. I think they did for some and not for others. But Randall, I believe, was one of the ones that had the strict information rule. That and he's one of the guys that is going to play the game by the rules. All right, he is. Um, and I'll never like he walked into the tackle shop we were all hanging out at, obviously on Okeechobee, and he cracked the door open and he put his hand up and he put his head and he said, "Not a single word about anything going on the inside of that dike. Nothing." And that's what he said to us sitting there in the tackle shop. But what happens when he pulls up to the gas station in the morning and pumps fuel and he's like, "Oh, what's going on, Randall? You going to get out on that shad spawn on King's Bar right now? They're crushing a white swim jig." And stuff like that happens, and he didn't intend to receive that information. It was just thrown at him. So parts like that make it very hard to police, but that's not my job. So we'll see how Bass handles this whole thing. It's getting weird. It's very funny. It's very kind of fishy, no pun intended, but very curious to see how the year plays out. And oh, what are you doing, man? Walking in on me. I can pause it. All right, we're somewhat back. Sorry about that. My father-in-law snuck in on me. He was looking for his like Slim Jim package to break into a car because his one of his drivers locked their keys in their truck, and I did the same thing a few months ago. He let me borrow this whole package to get in, and I can't find it. Neither can he. We were just out there for forever looking for it in my garage, and it's nowhere to be found. He should have known better than to let me borrow anything, because if you let me borrow it, I will, underline 3 times in all caps, I will lose it. And that was no different. So hopefully they get their keys out of the truck. And I should have just told my father-in-law to the hell with work. Let's sit down and do a podcast on talking about Lake Okeechobee. He's got some cool stories, but he's got better things to do than sit in my living room with a cheap microphone and talk. So here's the deal. I had a whole other subject I was going to touch on in this video, but I just looked at the time when I came back, and I got to get ready to go. Me and the wife got things to take care of over in West Palm. So yeah, I got to go get the little guy. He's got to go wake him up. Unfortunately, he's been sleeping nice and peacefully, get him dressed. And yeah, we got to head over there. So I'm going to touch on kind of that next video, next subject, possibly. It has to do with what we were talking about, and we'll just do a separate video, I guess. But either way, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about the rule change and all that stuff going on in the comments. I just think it's weird. I mean, I think it's something that should have been taken care of, like I said 1,000 times in the video, effective immediately. Just a weird space right now in the world of bass fishing. But I don't want to harp on it too much, because I feel like the negativity in the sport is just overwhelming right now. And I get it. It's juicy. It's like, what everyone wants to talk about, but just go fishing. I think I said it in the last video, I'm a huge fan of the Dave Mercer podcast for that reason. He really tries to highlight the positive in bass fishing. Carl Jacobson started his little Fear My Heart side pot deal where he gives $1,000 to an angler after every event for just being a good person and doing something good. Things like that. I know people scroll on past that and don't comment, but that's the better thing. At the end of the day, it is just fishing. We can all debate about this junk, but don't let that override what fishing really is. So go fishing. I'm probably going to try and do so here in the next couple of days. Like I said, I was going to talk about it in the next video, but I haven't been on Okeechobee until yesterday in like 2 weeks. Just took 2 weeks off the lake. I went to the Keys just to kind of reset, and got out there yesterday with almost excited to go fishing. Like I'm always excited to go fishing, but I was just clean slate, and we had a phenomenal day on the water running a guide trip. We caught fish at every spot we stopped at, which was promising. Caught some really nice fish, all healthy fish. So, yeah, if you guys want to book a trip, let me know. We'll get you out there sooner than later. Season's getting ready to start up. So, get your dates in, get your deposits in. I am taking deposits now, but this book is starting to fill up. So, let me know if you want to go. And yeah, I guess that's about it. So, I appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate you guys subscribing. And I'm going to go get ready to go run errands. Fun stuff. But I'll see you guys on the next one. Tight lines. Be safe out there.